Hey guys, today we're going to share the Amazon launch strategy that nobody teaches you until now. I'm super excited to have Elizabeth Greene with us from Jungler. Welcome, Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm so good. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I mean, Elizabeth, it's kind of like we're in a crowded Amazon jungle right now, and Elizabeth founded Jungler to help sellers achieve eight-figure revenue goals and beyond. And she's a former Amazon seller. She's super talented for simplifying complexity. And not only that, she's a mom. She has six kids along with her husband. I mean, she's basically an expert at scaling with simplicity. So, before we get started, Elizabeth, who's this training for today and why is it so important?
Yeah, so this training will be valuable if you've just gotten started selling, but it's also actually going to be valuable if you have a really large catalog. So anyone who is planning to launch a product on Amazon and they're looking for what is that ad strategy? How do I attack, like how do I use Amazon PPC to help accelerate sales for a new product? This is going to be for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I was talking with Elizabeth a little bit before today, and we were talking about, the truth is, and not a lot of people say this, but most launch advice out there, it's either incomplete, it's outdated, or it's, flat out wrong, right? And then they'll show you how to start campaigns, but they leave you hanging on what to do next. So, basically today she's gonna reveal the whole playbook, and this is the actual A to Z launch strategy that she uses for multi-million dollar brands, her clients, and literally they use this every week, for thousands of launches. All right. So I think we're going to get a ton of
Yeah.
value today, Elizabeth. So without further ado, would you like to share your screen and we'll get this started?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I am excited. I mean, we were talking ahead of this. Like, there's so many amazing people in the space. Like, I'm not going to say I'm the only one sharing ad strategy, but the thing that I like when I was young and green, of course, this was like what, 34 years ago. I mean, probably six at that moment. Like, just really trying to devour everything and learn. There are some really amazing launch strategies out there, and like, they talk about keyword research, which we'll go over. They talk about like setting up initial campaigns, and then it's like, all right, great, you're launched. Like that's like getting to the starting line. Like that's like the very beginning. And so like we're going to talk about keyword research, we're going to talk about campaign setup. I'm going to go through all of that. I'll probably breeze through it a little bit quick because again, there's a lot of resources out there, but what there's not resources on is like what do you do when the campaigns are launched? How do you adjust bids? How do you adjust your budgets? What campaign should I be launching after? When nothing goes according to plan, how do I troubleshoot it? Like this is when I say A to Z launch strategy, I mean A to frickin' Z, start to finish and up to scaling. So I'm really excited to share that with everybody because like this is again, like you were saying, like this is the exact strategy we are using to launch new products. And the other thing is like I shared this strategy with other people because sometimes you're like, like I know what to do, but sometimes, you're kind of wondering if somebody else could get results. Like there's always that self-doubt. And I've shared this strategy with a lot of others, and they're like, oh my gosh, like I've used this. And there's some like ninja campaigns in here that someone's like, man, I'm even past the launch stage, but I was like trying to push up on these keywords and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And like that campaign actually helped me to get to number one on a lot of my keywords I thought were way too competitive to do it. So there's a lot of tactics that you can walk away from with this. But really, what I found is that when you go down the rabbit hole, everyone wants to know how do you rank products, right? How do you make products as quick as possible and as hopefully profitable as possible? And so that's what this strategy is designed to do. And you can go down the rabbit hole. You can read every single white paper out there. Trust me. Everyone's trying to like figure out what's the hack to the algorithm. And you can do that. And really, what you walk away with, I know this is super simplifying something that's immensely complex, but in a nutshell, it's really about relevancy of products to search and about conversions and those conversions driving sales velocity. So that's what this whole strategy is designed to do. So this is what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about keyword research because that is the crux of getting started. You need to know how to do that. Then we're going to talk about campaign setup. What are the strategies? How do you do that? We're going to talk about initial optimization. Again, this is campaign setup, keyword research is where most strategies, like that's where they leave you hanging. I'm not going to leave you hanging, I promise. And then we're also going to talk about, okay, so after I'm out of that initial phase, one, when am I out of that initial phase? And then two, how do I work on scaling the ads? And not pictured here, there's also a bonus tip on stress testing or figuring out when things don't go exactly according to plan, because let's be honest, it really does. But we'll get you covered on that too. So the stage one is going to be keyword research, right? And actually, this is a little bit more of the time intensive piece. So I recommend doing this as soon as like you have your product getting into Amazon. You can actually do this work, which is what we typically do. So, keyword research, we're going to talk about identifying the anchor keyword. This is something that actually I discovered, I want to say a couple years into my own ad management journey, and is something we've carried across that actually is really helpful when it comes to determine relevancy. You can actually use this methodology as a part of your product research phase as well. We'll get into that. We're going to talk about the classic, right? Reverse ASIN searching. And then we're talking about choosing the ranking keywords. Everyone wants to know how many keywords should I choose and how do you go about choosing them? So I'm going to go through that. So really, when you're doing keyword research, you want to find the intersection between volume and relevancy. So you heard people talk about specific long tail searches. Typically speaking, the longer tail, the more specific, the less search volume there's going to be, less people typing it on their browsers. But the less, sort of the shorter tail keywords, the less specific it is because there's not many words in the keyword that just add specificity. So what we're doing in identifying an anchor keyword is we're trying to figure out, we want to find the intersection between the highest search volume we can and the most relevant to our product. And don't worry, I've got screenshots for you because sometimes it's a little bit hard to figure this out. So to find your anchor keyword, again, you're looking for the highest search volume, most relevant keyword. So here's exactly how you do it. You want to go to any keyword research tool. You're going to enter in what I call a seed keyword. This is just like, how do I logically explain my product? So in this case, I'm like, it's a baby blanket. Okay. Again, I got screenshots with examples. So you're going to go in here, you're going to sort by search volume, and you're going to manually work your way down the list. And here you want to evaluate manually for relevancy. How do you do that? I'm going to show you. So these are examples of lower relevancy. A lot of times everyone talks about this, like relevant keywords, find the highly relevant keywords, and everybody's like, I can't tell you how many ad accounts they're like, I found the relevant keywords, and I look at it for 2 seconds and I'm like, no, actually, that's not correct. How do you find for relevancy? It's the easiest thing in the world. Nobody talks about how to do it. Go to Amazon, type it in search, see what comes up. How specific is that to your product? So an example here is like, this is our product. This is blanket. Yes, this is a blanket, but you could see there's all types of, wait, these are more like adult focused blankets. If I go baby blanket, someone might say, yeah, that's relevant to my product. It's not high relevancy because you can see here there's name blankets, there's plush blankets, there's all kinds. And then you look at swaddles for newborn. Technically, the product is here, but like, oh, wait, these are like swaddle wraps with Velcro. Not highly relevant. Possibly relevant, but not highly relevant. High relevancy is something like muslin swaddle blanket. You go to the shop or search and you go, oh my gosh, every single product, yes, this is specifically the product. Now, could we go more relevant? Muslin swaddle blanket for boys. Yes, but we're looking for, again, the intersection. Where does that intersection cross that is at the highest search volume possible? And then that's our anchor keyword, because this is going to help us determine our top competitors. So a lot of times in most keyword research methodologies, so we're going to go through again the classic reverse ASIN searching, but what I found is that people are just kind of like searching all over for potential competitors. Our recommendation is to find the top competitors that are ranked high on your anchor keyword, because again, this is where the most relevant condensed traffic is for your type of product. So the competitors who have gotten really good search here, we know that people are searching for these specific products and they have high sales velocity because again, they are ranked high on these keywords. So again, very classic, go grab the top like competitors who are ranking well, and then you run the reverse ASIN search on those top competitors. And then from there, a lot of tools have like, you look at sales volume as well when you're going through the competitors because you don't want to grab somebody who like doesn't have any sales. And then all you have to do is you want to download again from your keyword research tool. Again, there's a lot of methods. There's good research tools out here. This is screenshots of Jungle Scout. There's other ones like Helium Time's a good one. I believe Viral Launch also has some capabilities. There's a lot of them out there. Zonguru is another good one. Data Dive is a very popular tool. And so with all of these, you can typically go through and oftentimes they'll have some sort of relevancy count in them. Relevancy count is a fantastic formula. It's just like how many of these top 10 competitors are ranked on this keyword. And you can filter out the ones and twos. So the higher the number, the more of these top competitors that are ranked on those keywords. Typically speaking, the higher relevant those keywords are. It's not a fail-safe. You want to manually select your keywords. I'm going to go through how to do that. So what you want to do is you want to choose 10 of the high relevant keywords that have at least 1 to 2,000 search volume. Now, depending on your niche, you might have a lot of them with like 20,000, 10,000 search volume, or you might be kind of scrambling to find 10 with 1 to 2,000 search volume. Again, we did a lot of research and some people are like launch with 100 keywords, launch with 50 keywords, why 10? 10 is a good round number that in our experience can help you sort of have a manageable launch budget. Because you think about it, the more keywords you have, the more budget you need to have to test those keywords. So 10 seems to be a good number for us. Now, if you find 12 or if you find 8, don't feel like it's a hard and fast rule, but just in our experience, that's how many keywords we found is a good sweet spot. All right. Did the keyword research. Now let's talk about campaign setup. So the campaign setup, we're going to go over campaign naming. Now these are just some suggestions, but we've refined campaign naming strategies over 6 years we've been doing this. So we think we have a really good campaign naming methodology. I think it's helpful to know. We'll talk about handling product variations. So many people when they're launching products and they're like, what do I do when do I launch them both of them on campaigns? What do I do? Don't worry, I got you. We'll talk about it. And then we'll talk about campaign structure, exactly screenshots. This is exactly how you set up the campaigns. And then we'll get into the fun stuff, which is, again, all of the what do you do after. But so campaign naming, this is our recommended structure. Good campaign naming will help you be able to search and find things a lot better inside of Ad Console. And it will also help you read reports a lot better. Trust me, good campaign naming will get you really far when it comes to reporting. This is our recommendation. So we like to have a product identifier. And actually, let me just skip to the next slide because here you can see some examples. So this product identifier oftentimes is like some sort of rational name. So here you can see it's blanket. And then we like to say put the ASIN. So this is what product are we advertising? We use what ad type and match type. So we put like SPE for sponsored product exact. We use like what strategy are we running? So in these cases, we're going to have SKC for us as single keyword campaigns and then rank. So we know it's ranking. Where do we find these keywords? So for us, the nomenclature is like H10 for helium-10, and then baby blanket might be the keyword we're going on. FB is fixed bidding strategy. We know the date launched, and then we do have something on it to just tell ourselves we launched it. So I can literally look at this and say, this is the product I'm advertising on. This is the ad type. This is the match type. This is the intent of the campaign. Here's when we launched it, and I know exactly the keyword that we're going after. Like all just by looking at this, which in our experience is very helpful. So once you have the campaign name, let's talk about handling product variations because this is where I can't tell you how many people get tripped up on this. And we manage clothing brands, which as you can imagine, like 50 to 100 variations versus like on a listing. It's insane. So here's how we found that it's really good. Now, if you have a single ASIN listing, congratulations, your life is easy. Just put it in the campaign, not a problem. Now, if you have a variation listing, there's 2 different roads. One is if no performance data exists, which generally speaking is when you have launch. So if no performance data exists, our recommendation is to choose all of the child ASINs and put those in a campaign. We have specific rationale on that. I could go down the rabbit hole. Just trust me, we found this methodology to be really good, especially when there's a lot of variations. Now, if performance data exists, we will use the top performing variation for each keyword. So an example is like, say you have a whole bunch and like black just crushes it, like just advertise the one that you know performs and converts best. The one exception to all of these rules is going to be for specific keywords. So an example here would be like blue swaddle blanket. If you have a variation that's a blue swaddle blanket, only advertise the relevant variation with the relevant keyword. I know there's this thought that Amazon like kind of knows which keyword applies to each variation, so they'll pick the best one. That's not true. In our experience, if you go out of your way to advertise the relevant variation on the specific keyword, you will increase conversion rates, hence it being a really solid practice. All right, let's talk
Elizabeth,
about
sorry, can I ask a quick
yeah.
question? Because I think this
Yeah,
is
go
very
for it.
important. So let's going back to your previous slide with the product variations.
Yeah.
So let's say we're launching a new product, there's no performance data, and we have like, a couple of child ASINs. So like I'm just gonna pick out a random example. So let's say, for example, we're selling earrings, and maybe we have like,
Mhm.
like a star earring, we have like, like crescent moon earring, and like a heart
Mhm.
earring. So we have three child ASINs, right? Would you launch separate campaigns for each three? Am I understanding that correctly?
No, I would put all three of those. Okay, so great, great question. Let's say we found a whole bunch of keywords.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the keywords that we found is women's earring.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Women's earring is not specific. I don't know if they want the star. I don't know what they want the heart. I have no
Yeah.
idea what they want, and I have no idea which one already converts best. So I'm going
Yeah.
to put all three child ASINs into the same campaign in the same ad group.
Okay.
If they are, and I want to specify here, I'm saying child ASINs. I
Mm-hmm.
would not combine products that are on different listings.
Okay. Would you like for the launch strategy, let's say with these three variations, would you launch them as like three separate parents, or would you launch it under like a parent and three child variations, like for the launch strategy? Because I know like there's both ways that you
Yeah,
can
pros
you
and
can do that.
cons.
Yeah, pros and cons, like in your view.
If there's good overlap, oftentimes it is beneficial to launch them underneath the same listings. Now, it
Okay.
used to be like if you launch them separate, that you could do Vine reviews on all of them and then you
Yes.
could combine them.
Yes.
Amazon kind of made that against terms of service
Yes.
recently, which was
That's
like
right.
the one reason it was like why that often happened. So
Yeah.
for that reason, because that's kind of taken away as an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And we do leave that up to the clients.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so not many people actually know this, and I'm fine to go down the rabbit hole here. Stop me if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that when it comes to advertising on a specific search page, only one child ASIN from a listing is eligible to serve in that ad placement. So even if you said, I'm going to split them out into three separate campaigns, when that search triggers,
Mm-hmm.
only one of those campaigns is going to win the auction and trigger.
Mm.
So in a lot of ways, like you could end up, in our opinion, it's pros and cons, but in my opinion, like you kind of spread the data because like you might get 2 clicks here on this product and
Mm-hmm.
2 clicks here and 1 click here, and like
Mm-hmm.
all three of those might be enough to kind of make some optimizations. But if they were combined, yes, is 1 click going to this product and 1 click going to that product? Yes, you would be correct.
Mm-hmm.
However, the aggregate performance at the keyword level will
Mm-hmm.
tell you how that overall listing performs on the keyword anyways.
Okay.
So in our opinion, you get the data a lot quicker. It's a lot easier to analyze if you group
Mm.
them.
Makes sense. Okay, to aggregate. Okay. And if you separate them, would you be bidding against yourself?
That's a great question. So no, you do not technically increase your own bids in the
Yeah.
ad auction. Like Amazon's not going to charge you more.
Yeah.
You technically in some ways compete against yourself in terms of impressions. Like if
Yeah.
one impression is going here, one impression is going there.
Yeah.
But it's not like you're driving up your costs.
Okay. Excellent. All right, let's yeah, there's a lot of stuff to cover today. Elizabeth put together a playbook, A to Z Amazon Launch Secrets playbook that you can grab if you stick around to the end, and also link below the video. So just so you know. Okay, Elizabeth, great stuff. Let's keep going. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I love it. I appreciate the questions
Hmm.
because it's always nice to know like what are people thinking of. But yeah, when it comes to creating the campaign, again, this should be super quick especially if you've done ads before. So it's a sponsored product campaign. Again, we talked about naming strategy. We're doing one campaign, one ad group. So we just typically copy over the campaign name to the ad group, just keep it 1-to-1. Again, you're adding your products. We already talked about variations. That's why I talked about variations first, so you know what to name it and what products go in it. We're going to choose manual targeting, keyword targeting. We're going to enter a list of keywords and we're going to do exact match. Now, where do you start your bids? That's one of the major questions we always get. So our recommendation is to use a suggested bid and go 20 to 50% or 20 to 50 cents above suggested just to be competitive. Now, again, everybody overthinks this because this is like launching the campaign is getting you to the starting line. This is your starting bid. And that's why like everyone gets so trapped because they're like, oh man, if I don't get it right in the beginning, I'm like, it's not going to serve impressions, but then I don't want to overpay for stuff. I got you. We're going to talk about bid optimization strategy because that's what nobody talks about. Nobody gives you the nitty-gritty details. Like this is literally exactly how we manage this stuff. So this is the start. Don't overthink it. If you're like, oh my gosh, that's too expensive, start a little bit lower. We have a strategy to account for that. If you're like, where it is too high, we have a strategy to account for that. So you just got to put something in to start that you feel is going to be strong enough to get you some impressions on the campaign. That's all we want to do. Don't overthink it. Also, you are launching single keyword campaigns. So it's one campaign, one ad group, one keyword in the ad group, whatever products you have in there. So say we have 10 keywords, we're doing 10 different campaigns. All right. And then you also want to choose a fixed bidding strategy. In our experience, this will help increase the amount of impressions. And our goal in the beginning is impressions. Again, we're talking about data analysis. Gosh, I can't talk in a minute. The other thing everyone wants to know is like, what's my starting budget, right? Again, everyone overthinks it like, oh my gosh, I have to get it. Don't have to get it 100% correct. Just start with something, and here's our recommendations. And we're going to talk about budget optimizations as well. So here you want to set a starting budget. Our recommendation is $10 to $15 or high enough to generate enough clicks to get a test. So mathematics here is like if it takes you on average 15 clicks to generate an order, and you have a 75-cent bid on average, it's going to take you $11.25 to know if you convert. So if I put a $15 budget, well, that's a pretty hefty budget, enough for me to rationally test. Our budget's going to run out. Yes, that is intentional. And I promise you, I'm going to give you a strategy for it. There is this theory in the space. I don't want to get on a soapbox too much that like you can never have a budget run out ever. I'm going to stand on my soapbox and say that's bullcrap and that's going to waste your money. I don't want to waste your money. So I recommend setting a good starting budget enough to test, but enough that we can go aggressive with our testing and you're not going to blow the budget and have no money to reorder a product. That's not what we want to happen. All right. So now we went through that. Again, that's the beginning part. That's where everybody leaves you. I'm not going to drop you. I got you. Let's talk about optimizations because this is the stuff that when I was coming up, I was like, give me the strategy. I want to know what to do. I have no idea what I'm doing and I feel like I'm lost. So I'm going to walk you exactly through what we do. So we're going to talk about the initial optimizations. We're going to talk about gaining impressions, our rapid bid adjustment strategy for visibility. We're going to talk about evaluating the funnel. How do you read the data? How do you know if it's working? And then, yes, we're going to talk about budgets and how to adjust and pause underperforming keywords. So let's get into it. All right. So here's the problem with most launches today. And it is a shift that has happened over the last probably 2 to 2.5 years. It is freaking hard to get impressions on new campaigns. Drives me nuts. It's like even when you put bids that are like you feel are insanely high, it's like Amazon, shut up and take my money. Please, I just want to test these freaking keywords. I just got to get some eyeballs on my product. So what this bidding strategy is set to do is to help you rapidly gain it, like push the algorithm to gain as many as impressions as we possibly can. Hence, us keeping a budget cap so we can do this because what's going to happen is if we didn't have that budget set at a test level, we would be doing this and all of a sudden the next thing you know, you're spending like $200 a day. I don't want that for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to check and adjust bids twice daily. You can do it once daily, but ideally twice to achieve 1,000 impressions per keyword. Yes, I said check and adjust twice daily. I'm not going to say it's easy. Well, it is easy. It's just takes a lot of effort. Okay. But if you want the results, you got to put in the work. So what you're going to do is you're going to check. And all you have to do, because again, you have good naming structure, you're going to go into your account, you're going to, type in the name so you can just see all the campaigns. And again, because we have one keyword per campaign, we know if there's nothing happening on the campaign level, there's nothing happening on the keyword level. So it should be pretty easy to figure this out. So if impressions are low, or if you don't have 1,000 impressions within the entire launch, so I'm not just looking at today's data, I'm looking at from the time that I launched to the lifetime of these campaigns, do I have at least 1,000 impressions? If you don't, you're going to increase the bids by 20 to 50 cents, or Sometimes the suggested bid changes, so you're going to move it to the top of the suggested bid range. So what we're doing is we're using frequent aggressive bidding to force Amazon to serve our ads. We're like, Amazon, give me my impressions, right? So here you can say like we have like rank that we searched and we can say, oh, there's no impressions. So again, you can just search in the search bar and then just figure it out. And then what we're doing is we're looking for at least getting some impressions. Once we have impressions, we can start evaluating the funnel. So now we can figure out what's working, what's not. So impressions follow this, right? So we get impressions, eyeballs on the product, shoppers click, and then ideally they order from us, right? So, but we got to get the impressions first. That's the first thing. Next, when we start to get clicks, we can use our conversion rate to determine the average clicks needed per order. So the conversion rate equals orders divided by clicks. That's your calculation for conversion rate. And your average clicks to convert, super easy, 1 divided by your conversion rate. And so an example is if your conversion rate is 6.7%, you can expect roughly 15 clicks per order, or 15 clicks before you get an order. So now we can start, again, we got those impressions, we can start seeing like, okay, are we getting clicks and are these generating orders? So our goal here, not all 10 of your keywords are going to work. That's another misconception on launch. People feel like, oh, I'm going to have to put out all these keywords and like every single one has to convert. No, we're looking to find something that converts. And that's the beauty of this strategy is instead of just like throwing up a bunch of stuff, we're going to launch phrase match and broad match and autos and just like all of these things happening in all these places. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where my product fits in the market. There's so many things to pay attention to. We're like, okay, we're putting out 10 keywords. We're pushing our product high. We're getting these in front of the shoppers that, again, we've already validated through keyword research, should be solid for us. And then my goal is to see where in the market do shoppers resonate with my product? And I might find 5 of these 10 keywords. I might find 4 of these 10 keywords. I might find 8 of these 10 keywords. But I'm just trying to see like where in the market do I convert? And then that's going to lead to our next scaling strategies. So if you have, again, a lot of impressions, you're getting a lot of clicks, and it's not converting to orders. Again, I have a troubleshooting part because, again, sometimes like none of the 10 works. So in that case, like, what do we do, right? What do we evaluate? But you can start pausing or deprioritizing the keywords that have high enough clicks with no orders. So if I know my average conversion rate, because I've had some of my other keywords convert or I've gotten a conversion somewhere, it's like on average 15 clicks before I get an order. Well, if I have like 17 clicks and then 20 clicks, I'm like, yeah, that keyword just, it's not converting right now. You know, it might be a review thing, it might be something else. So you can either pause it or you can do something what we call a soft pause, which is like pausing, but not really, which is setting the bid to 17 cents. 17 cents, by the way, is just an arbitrary number. Or you can put the budget to $1. Either way, you're saying like, I want to try and maybe get possibly some visibility. I might not really get impressions, but that's okay because again, it's like a soft pause. It's like I'll revisit it later, but maybe I'll just keep the wheels spinning. All right. Did it go back? Okay, so we're evaluating the funnel, again, impressions, clicks, and orders to see what is working. So when we have evaluated the funnel, right? So you're figuring out what's working, you've done your aggressive testing, and you're like, okay, great. Now I have 4 of my keywords that are working. I know that these ones convert. What do I do? This is where you scale. So remember those budgets that we set? Your budgets are probably been running out. And this can happen. You can find this out, by the way, in like day 2, day 3, day 4. As soon as you figure out like, okay, great. This is what converts. And I know what bids I need to be competitive because I know what bids I'm pushed up to gain impressions. So from now, what you need to do is you can just start gradually increasing the budgets by $5 to $20 increments for your converting campaigns. They're not scaling anything that's not converting. Screw that. We already tested it. It doesn't work. All we're going to do is just start uncapping, and we're not going to start increasing our bids anymore. We can stop increasing the bids when we know that we're generating enough impressions to really evaluate the keyword. That's why we're looking for those couple thousand impressions. I do want to say avoid dramatic increase to maintain your cost control. So you can see here that some of these budgets, like this is like a $750 a day budget. Like that's quite a lot, but we worked up to this. Like here you can see like $25 budgets through here's a $5 budget, right? So you want to increase strategically and just kind of slowly give Amazon a little bit more leeway to start pushing your products even more. All right.
Elizabeth,
So you
sorry,
have,
can I ask a quick
go for it.
question? On previous
Yeah.
slide, when you say do not do dramatic increases, like how much would like drama be?
Right. Drama to me is like, oh, let's throw an extra $100 at it.
Mm,
Like, a lot of brands are like, oh man, like
yeah,
what if we just 10x this? Like what would happen?
yeah,
Um, because the budgets have already been restricted, so we know if it goes up to this point, like we're good. Like let's
yeah.
give it a little more. So like, I mean, you can add like an extra $20, an extra $15 a day. I mean, you can go pretty
Okay,
decent increments.
okay,
But I would always be worried, like, okay, if my budget's $5, like even if I looked at this, I'm like, man, this is $5. This is crushing it. Let's do more. And I went
yeah.
like, let's do 100.
Mm,
I, like that's such a large leap. It's a little bit un in our experience, it's kind of uncertain how that budget will do.
okay. So you're raising like 10, $20 a day if it's converting well, right?
Correct. And I will
Okay.
let you know, this strategy is very controversial. There's a lot of people in this space that like never restrict budgets, always have a campaign. In our
Yeah.
experience, budgets in campaigns are like the most amazing lever for allowing you to have aggressive testing while still maintaining some level of spend control. Because
Mm,
if you think about it from a bid level, like if it's not converting and I'm like, man, I really need to push this harder to really test, but like I don't really want to do that because the
yeah.
spend could potentially just go crazy. But I'm like, well, if you just cap budgets and like, yeah, the budget went out, but like you were allowing yourself to be like, I mean, in some of our accounts, like supplements, you have to push the bits to like $8. I mean, that can be scary if you think about a completely uncapped budget and
Yeah.
an $8 or $10 bid
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
thousands of search volume. Like the
Yeah.
potential to spend is
You can
crazy.
just go through the roof, right? You're blowing.
Right. But
Yeah.
if we're capping it, I'm like, okay, I can get
Yeah.
crazy aggressive, but I know,
That makes
hey,
sense.
Amazon, you're never going to be allowed to spend more than like 25, $30 a day. Like that's
Yeah.
your limit.
Yeah. Okay. Great. That makes sense. Okay, let's keep going. What's next?
Cool. All right, so let's talk about scaling campaigns because you're like, all right, great. I found the 5 or 6 keywords that are converting, turn off the ones that didn't. All right, now these, by the way, these are now your ranking campaigns. Okay, so you figured out what works. Maybe you do another evaluation on what the A cost is and if you can afford it. But like, congratulations, you found your ranking campaigns. You're already set up for that. They're single keyword, exact match campaigns. You got good budget control. Fantastic. So now you need to launch all the other stuff. So here's our recommendations on launch strategy. So did you know, actually, you probably didn't because most people don't know, product targeting campaigns, if done correctly, can actually help boost your organic ranking. Now, not on their own, they have to be used in conjunction with keyword campaigns, but they can have some impact. So I'm going to talk about that. Then we'll talk about some broad match campaigns, and then we'll talk about lower bid auto campaigns. So product targeting, how does it work in conjunction? Well, what you do is you target the top 1 to 5 organically ranked, don't fall for the sponsored, they paid to be there. So organically ranked ASINs for each, here's the trick, validated keyword. So if I chose 10 keywords in the beginning and I found out that 5 worked, I'm only going to go and launch campaigns for the top, like say 5 ranked products on that specific search that I want to go after. And what I would do is I would put these in their own campaign. You also want to make sure that you're using exact match product targeting in sponsored product ads. Super important to use exact match, not expanded. And then so an example would be if we have muslin swaddle blanket is converting, again, you're just searching it on Amazon, pulling those top 5 products, putting those in a campaign. So say I had like muslin swaddle blanket and like muslin swaddle blankets for newborn and those are 2 separate keywords, I would launch a campaign with only the top ranking ASINs for muslin swaddled blanket, and I would launch another campaign with muslin swaddled blankets for newborn, just so I can kind of keep an eye on those 2 things and, probably get more aggressive with one or the other, depending on what I want to do. So this is a fantastic strategy. Broad match as well. So we found that actually lower bid broad match can be really beneficial, but here's the key to this. So we used to like, okay, we're going after these 10 keywords, and then now we're going to launch all of those product targeting campaigns and all of them in broad match. And again, all of these things. The beauty here is you're validating what you know converts well in the first phase with the exact match. And now you're taking over your learnings into the product targeting campaigns as well as the broad match. So what you want to do is you want to launch these campaigns. And we've actually found that like single keyword broad matches can work really well. But again, you're only launching those, say 5, 6, whatever keywords you validated in step 1. And then you're using this to scrape long tail variations of those. And then, of course, the classic auto campaigns. I still love them. We still run them for every single account. Again, a lot of people are running like, should I split out the match type? Should I not? Do we have to have separate campaigns? And honestly, we've tested it all. And I've kind of found that, like, unless you're trying to go aggressive with an auto campaign, which in our experience, we prefer to go aggressive with manuals. I've never seen it go really, really well long term with autos. So we'll just launch an auto campaign with all of the targeting groups in it. Because again, I'm not trying to aggressively scale this. This is just for, again, long tail search. So this is really helpful to leverage Amazon's algorithm to discover additional opportunities. Oh, I do want to point out because I missed it on the broad match and the bids, you do want to set low initial bids to control costs. Again, this is for long tail profitable traffic, and we're also using dynamic bids down only. And again, you can use a decent budget cap and then increase it if you're seeing potential. But we like to start these pretty low, as well as the autos. Like you could go suggested, or you might, depending on how high, like if your suggested bids are like $2, $3, then maybe you want to start a little bit lower at 50 cents, 75 cents, and then you can always work your way up from there.
Elizabeth, when
And
you
then
say said low initial bids, how low are low is low?
that's a good question. So in our experience, like low tends to be 75 to 50% of your average cost per click is what I would consider low. So like take whatever your average cost per click is, cut
Hmm.
in half, maybe a little
Okay.
bit higher than that. So
Hmm.
low is very relative. Like low in a um what I get like a supplement account,
Hmm.
right? Say your average CPC is like $4. Well,
Yeah.
like $1.50 is like quote low, actually
Right.
pretty low in that
Right.
account,
Hmm.
versus if you have a category where your average CPC is like 50 cents, well then like 20 cents is probably low.
Makes
So it is
sense.
relative, but you
Hmm.
just base it off of whatever your averages are. And if
Yeah.
you don't have average CPCs for your account, you can just look at the suggested bits. So here I would say low would be, 45 cents. I'll go 20 cents, right?
Hmm. Okay. Great.
Yeah, good question. So that should have you off to the races. So by there, again, we have our exact match, our ranking. We launched autos, we launched broad match, we have product targeting. You can also launch phrase match. And from here, you're going, okay, now we're broadening out. Let's look at our search terms, what is coming back, and then you're into your regular optimization routines, which everyone should be aware of, good practices of looking at search term reports, launching those in manual campaigns to try and expand them, adding negatives to clear waste, all of that good stuff. But let's talk about a bonus troubleshooting because when things don't go according to plan, this is where most people get stuck because they're like, I did your launch strategy. I followed it to a T and nothing is freaking working. Trust me, been there, bang my head against the wall. Hopefully, I'll help you not have to do the same thing. Um, so we'll talk about addressing lower click-through rate, fixing low conversion rates, and then market misalignment, because these are the three things that, in my experience, tend to be where most things kind of go off the rails. So here, what's happening is you're getting a crap ton of impressions, and then you're like, I have no clicks. Like I push up the bids, I'm getting thousands of impressions. What's happening? Nobody's clicking. Well, in our experience, a low click-through rate, I don't like optimizing for click-through rate specifically because I've seen things to like crush it in terms of orders and the click-through rate's like horrible, but it is a good signal from the market. So if your click-through rate is below a 0.5%, especially if it's like a 0.2, it's pretty terrible. 0.3 is like, it's not that great. That's a really good indication that there's something that's misalignment. So you have to think about it from a consumer perspective. When they're seeing your product, they're looking at it like this in the search grid. So it could be the main image, it could be your title doesn't call out some value. So oftentimes in the beginning, it might just be the reviews. So in the supplements category, reviews are like everything. And if you have no reviews, it's almost worse than having a poor review sometimes because like nobody trusts it. It could be that your price point is a little bit high. And again, you also want to make sure that your keywords are accurately describing your product. So you're just looking at it from the shopper point of view. How do I improve this? So when they come across my product, they want to click on it. The other thing that can happen is you can get a heck of a lot of clicks and then nobody's buying, which I know is discouraging. So here, they've already seen your product and then they landed on the listing. So there's something in the listing that is not causing them to buy. So here you can look at improving your listing content. So again, high quality images, better descriptions, clearer benefits. In our experience, when it comes to listing optimization, again, we mainly focus on ads, but we do know a good listing from a poured one when we see it. We've been doing it a while. The image stack, optimizing that is going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. So a lot of times it's like, I can't tell you how many shoppers I talk to that I'm like, oh, like they tell me all about this product, and I'm like, this sounds amazing. And I look at the listing and I'm like, I don't know. They're like, oh, it's in the bullet points. Like, don't make anybody read. Like everyone shops images. So if you put like a value proposition and it's only in your bullet points, make sure you create an image. So again, you need to ensure your product fulfills the keyword intent. And then the other one is sometimes there is a misalignment. So this has happened. Like we were going through and looking at a search term report for a client, and I saw this keyword. It was car chalk, and it made sense. And it was actually had some conversions in the search report. So I was like, oh yeah, this is specifically the product. It makes total sense. I'm reading the data. It's a relevant keyword, right? People are purchasing. Well, I went and looked at the search page for car chalk, and I'm like, oh, car chalk, as in somebody's writing on the windshield, like a dealer would write the price of, a car. They do like art on the cars. I'm like, oh, I had no idea because this product is not that product. So it's a completely different product. I mean, like it was converting and I'm reading it. I'm like, this makes total sense. And then when I go and look at the search page, I'm like, oh, wait, I actually got it wrong. So it's entirely possible. I mean, I read it in the data, but it wasn't super relevant. So sometimes you will get it wrong. So if like nothing is really working and you just feel like, "Ugh, I just can't figure it out, revisit your keywords to ensure you didn't miss anything in the shopper intent. Or sometimes if all you're doing is an exact match, you're like nothing in exact match is converting, sometimes you can test broader keywords. Meaning like, okay, so nothing in baby swaddle blanket is working. Let me try baby blanket or swaddles for newborn or maybe some other like different ways of going about the product. Or sometimes if exact match isn't working, you can try phrase match because then you can at least get like some long tail variations of the search. But it's a little bit more targeted than broad. So at that point, you kind of switch over to like, where do I find my audience is what you're looking for. And that's the strategy. Hopefully it was valuable. So really when it comes down to it, as much as you can get into tactics and data and all of this, and there's a lot of it in here, it's really about focusing in on the relevancy, so the specificity of the search to your product. And so like it really does hinge on all of the proper targeting in the beginning. So if you had to focus on one thing now, I would say focus in on making sure you have product and keyword alignment for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And for people that want to connect with you to learn more, what's the best way?
Yeah, so the best way is going to be reaching out on the website. So it is jungler.com, J-U-N, not G, GLR.com. The good news is if you want this in like a playbook format, we've actually typed that up. It's a playbook. It runs through all of this. It's a little bit easier to follow.
Mhm.
And there's some resources on the website, so you can click in that and you can get the playbook.
Perfect. So watch out for autocomplete when you type it in. Jungler,
I know.
JUNGLR.com. All right,
Yes.
to connect with Elizabeth. Thank you so much. I had a couple of quick questions before we close out. Is that okay? If I can
Yeah,
ask
go
them
for
rapid
it.
fire? Okay. Um, what about Amazon Marketing Cloud? Do you recommend it or no? What's your take?
Yeah, so I'd love Amazon Marketing Cloud. They released the option to do your own audiences now. So it
Hmm.
used to be that you had to have access to Amazon Marketing Cloud to even use it in sponsored product ads.
Hmm.
Um, they recently released it. So if you go to a campaign, you should see an audiences tab now, and you can select like Amazon generated audiences. I actually got a question from a client today. They're like, what's the difference between like the audiences and AMC? It's actually the same thing. It's just
Hmm.
that Amazon has like, pre-built them for you, so you can't go in. So like we have access to AMC and we can get clients on it, so we
Hmm.
can go build like super custom audiences.
Hmm.
But
hmm
actually, if you're wanting to test it, in
hmm
our experience,
hmm
the one that's working the best is an auto campaign, and then using an audience, which again, Amazon pre-built these, so you can go use it, is
Hmm.
shoppers who added your product to their cart but then didn't purchase.
Mm.
And you put like a moderate increase of that. I think like 20 to 40% is what we found is a good starting point. And for us, it's actually been working quite well.
So when you say moderate increase, that's on the bids?
Yeah, so the way it works is if you're familiar with placement percentages,
Okay.
you can actually attach an audience to a sponsored product campaign and
Hmm.
then increase what you want to pay to serve to that specific audience, very much the same way as a placement percentage increase.
Makes sense. Okay. And okay, what about like shifting gears, like optimization? Do you use AI? Do you use any like automation like tools to optimize your campaigns?
Yes, again, I'm gonna ruffle feathers. I'm gonna get on a soapbox. I do not like AI for optimizations to accounts.
Hmm.
Um, I had a conversation the other day with the potential prospect, and he was like, "Well, what's the best use case for AI?" My personal opinion is the best use case for AI optimizing your ad account is when you have somebody who is not highly skilled at ad optimization, and you need something to kind of keep on top of it.
Hmm.
So there was one brand who was like, "Hey, I just want to touch it like once a month. I don't want to have to worry about it. I just want a system to do its thing and leave me alone." I'm like, "Great, you're a fantastic candidate for AI." But if you really want to get the most out of your ad account, in our experience, algorithms were never bad. I'm a little bit baffled, to be honest, why in our specific space AI has come in as like a substitute for something that was never broken. Like, so if you think about it with creatives, right? And that, like, the rise of AI potential for creatives. Is it kind of
Hmm.
wonky? Yes. Does it
Hmm.
allow you to, like, solve an issue, which was like creatives take a freaking long time? Is it solving a, like, potential bottleneck, an issue in the space? Like, heck yes. It's amazing, right? Well, when it comes to, like, AI are like and plus like versus algorithms, like algorithms were never bad. It was just that the settings weren't great, and the ad auction is like ever changing, and it is a complex and obnoxious beast to deal with. I
Hmm.
completely sympathize because I wrote our own bid algorithm, like banging my head against the wall for like 4 years, trying to be like, how do I solve this, right? So I
Hmm.
get that it can be difficult, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the algorithms were doing a bad job or that AI is going to do a better job, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Just to close out, we covered a lot today, and I'm all about the 80/20 principle. So if you were to kind of distill everything down into one final like 80/20 recommendation to our audience, what would that be when it comes to the A to Z product launch strategy?
Okay. I would say it is a good practice in advertising or in this launch strategy. If you can learn to look at everything from a consumer perspective, just get curious. Like, how would they search for my product? Why would they search for my product? What would make them click on this versus this? Like, we see everything from the back end as
Hmm.
like, data and numbers and oh, this number. Like, it's fantastic because it aggregates multiple consumer experiences together and puts it in a way that allows us to analyze it in like its totality.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's a consumer going on and saying, I want a gift for my mom
Hmm.
and trying to find her the perfect gift that aligns with all of the things that she loves. Like that's who you're trying to get in front of and who you're trying to serve. So if you like
Yeah.
advertising in general, if you can look at it from what does the consumer want and just get curious and
Hmm.
relentless about serving them,
Hmm.
like that's going to improve your product, that's going to improve your ads, that's going to improve how you do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes complete sense. I mean, the whole curiosity and like what you said at the top, right? Like sometimes there's misalignment because like the car chalk, people, it's not
Yeah.
really what your intent is there as the seller, but the buyer's intent wasn't that. So get curious, find that out. Excellent. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. This was super valuable today. I learned a lot. I'm sure everyone else did too. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you guys at the next session. Bye, everybody.
Thanks.